when they needed it most. They're now 2-11 in their last 13 crunch time games. It's incredible that they even made it a crunch time game, being down 12 with 4 minutes to go, but just couldn't get to the finish line in a game they desperately needed.
Especially coming off of the collapse against the New Orleans Pelicans, you really expected them to come in with fire. And considering the headlines tonight, that Jaylen Brown was named to his first All-Star team, Jason Tatum as well, and this is just not the response you were looking for. You're right, they did show some response late in the fourth quarter. Let's take you through that run, because Dallas, playing on the second night of a back-to-back, I think really trying to decide who could lose this game. It didn't feel like for a while there that anybody wanted to win it.
And it's just incredible because, again, just like you said, you think the Celtics were in a position where they needed to come out swinging, where they needed to play with an urgency, and it wasn't until 4 minutes to go when Dallas improbably took their foot off the gas that the Celtics tried to make this valiant comeback. But the fact that they didn't have that urgency early is baffling. This is a team that just got embarrassed on Sunday, that shouldn't want to be below 500 for the first time in years, and yet here they are.
Luka Doncic, though, wow. 21 years old in his second NBA season. I mean, I know we're going to hear Brad say it. We got to give Dallas some credit here. They have been on a tear as of late, now winning 6 of their last 7.
Yeah, and credit to him. Like, I mean, he had 2 huge shots there. I thought the one where Jaylen Brown was all over him, and they get the switch to Tice, puts up a big three-pointer, and then the one at the end there, Nesmith gets caught in a tough spot. But, you know, again, like, the Celtics can't find themselves down 12 points with 4 minutes to go in a must-have game. And so we're left to wonder, like, why can't they bring it in the third quarter and into that early fourth when you felt like they just had to have this one? A lot of questions and a lot of things to answer for this team.
Luka in his third season, excuse me. But, Chris, let's go back and look at the fourth quarter and that run. We're going to start with the positive. The run that the Celtics went on, a 12-0 run, and they really stepped up the defense. We're going to look at the offense here as Kemba Walker hits a big 3. Cardiac Kemba, you thought was back, but it was the defense. They finally got stops.
Yeah, and look, that three-point shot wasn't falling for most of the second half, but you feel like when they did get stops, it gave them a little bit of juice on the offensive side. They made the plays, found guys for good looks. You know, Tatum putting the ball here, creating.
Yes, the movement.
Kemba really, you know, came alive in that stretch, felt like he was really trying to will them. And like I said, if you could just, if they hadn't been through what they've been through the last month, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's a good fight from this team, something that's been missing. But ultimately, it comes down to the final result. And when you see Luka do this, pull up on top of Tice, hit the first go-ahead 3, and even after this, the Celtics going to come back down, get Jaylen Brown in the post with the little bunny to get them
Mark Cuban.
Back. Yeah, Mark,
you have to laugh.
I mean, he's allowed to do that when you've got Luka. And here's Jaylen with the big-time play, going at the basket, finishing in traffic,
pulling
the game even.
Tice.
But then, again, they've got Luka, they've got time, and watch, no hesitation.
The rookie, Aaron Nesmith.
Which I don't mind. Like Brad had said the other day, they probably have to lean on him. I like his activity. He's got length. You know, it's just Luka pulling up for a really an amazing shot. We can quibble with whether anybody else would have had a little bit tighter coverage there, but I don't fault that. Again, there's plenty of opportunities in that game where they shouldn't have had to come down to a final shot, but that's what the Celtics allowed it to do.
Chris, of course we can find faults in the defense there because it led to a loss. And to me, yes, have Aaron Nesmith in crunch time. I think those are very valuable lessons. Like Brad says, he brings the energy on defense, but both of those Luka plays, the Celtics allowed the switch. Daniel Tice did all that he could defensively, and I don't fault him for that, but where's the double team on their star? You know where the ball is going. Yeah,
you heard me scream when Jaylen was really all over Luka on that first 3, and I didn't quite know why they switched it. And when you watch the replay, you can see, like, they think he's going to drive right. I understand what Tice was doing, but I'd much rather have Jaylen in that scenario trying to guard him tight, pressed up against that three-point line on that first hit. The other one is just sort of, you know, it's a little bit scrambled, and you got to switch it in that situation probably late in the game. But, you know, I keep going back to it. You put yourself in that position where you got burnt by a really good player because you didn't do enough early enough in this game.
Fair enough. But know your personnel and make someone else beat you is what I have to do.
I don't know if Luka was giving that ball up. He would have shot it over 3 people.
Fine. So triple team him, quadruple team him, right? You know what's happening. That's what I think. Let's hear from Brad Stevens. It's time for the post-game press conference. It's brought to you by Arbella Insurance. Here for Celtics fans, here for good.
Brad, how do you explain that switch just flipping in the fourth quarter, where for a stretch there you guys looked as bad as you have during this entire run, and then all of a sudden you made that huge run to take a lead?
Well, we were doing some things differently that I thought were good for the most part up until that point, and then I think we just chose to maintain the right mindset. Instead of getting down, instead of being concerned with what had happened up to this point, it was more about playing the right way and being together and, letting the chips fall where they may at the end. Obviously, that's another heartbreaking loss, but that feels a little bit different than it did on Sunday.
Gary Washburn.
Hey, Brad, is it just the point of tip of your cap to a player who just kind of did some out of his mind things in the last minute?
Yeah, I think the two things that put them in position to win the game were obviously Luka's two monstrous shots. And, I just watched them because I wanted to say, like, what could we have done better? And certainly, Kimba ran at him on the last one. Aaron kept him up high. I think it's hard when you're in the bonus and you don't want to switch up into his airspace and foul. I think obviously we wanted to put two on him. We tried to run two at him a lot, but we were just a step behind. But I thought that, that happens, and he just hit two tremendous shots. So kudos to him. That happens sometimes when you play well, so there's an encouraging side to that. The problem is that we're in the position we're in because we haven't always played well. But we did in those last 5 minutes.
Adam Himmelsbach.
Brad, it seems like on a lot of your teams in the past, like a loss like Sunday's, you would see it that next game, like the intensity, especially defensively, would be at a different level. And it didn't seem like that was really there today. Is that either concerning or surprising, or did you feel that was the case?
I didn't feel that was the case as much. They're shot makers. They're hard to guard. They spread you out. So in person, I didn't feel that. Maybe I don't know how it looked on TV or what was being described or whatever. But
and just bring it on a nightly basis.
Perk, preach, yes. Brad Stevens said pre-game tonight that every game for us when we're playing like this is a pivotal game. But Brad Stevens, not alone in receiving criticism. Here's what Stephen A. had to say about the job that Brad Stevens is doing right now.
I'm talking about that leader of men that's able to peel something out of you that you might not even know is inside of yourself. The great coaches figured out a way to do that over the years. It's something about you as a coach where you shove aside the X's and O's because everybody knows what the other is doing, that's able to peel something out from inside of you and say, okay, I'm going to maximize the potential, even the potential you didn't know you have. That is the element I have not seen from Brad Stevens. And I think the Celtics have reached a point where now it's called upon to find out whether or not Brad Stevens has that little extra something in him to get that little extra something from his players.
Perk, you quote tweeted this at me and Chris. I want to know your feelings first. You agree?
Well, yeah, I agree. And this is what I was saying about accountability. Look, I love Brad. I'm a fan of Brad. But when you're going through this slump and you have two rising superstars in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, there's no way that you should be able to put a string of games together. And I understand you have been missing Marcus Smart. I understand that you've been going through certain things like the COVID situation. But guess what? Majority of the time, those two guys have been on the court together. And if you have those two guys, you got to at least have a better record than sitting at 500.
It's absolutely fair. And the two most talented Brad teams that he has had in his tenure have been the ones that have underperformed or failed, at least to this point, reach expectations. So there